Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. You know, I had found out more about what happened to Nolan. You know, that girl he was trying to talk to. They said she's very cooperative. She's cooperating, and she is really spilling the beans about what occurred on that beach. So, anyway, you know, it was pretty gruesome. And over the family don't want to release the autopsy report yet. And um, Colin Kaepernick, he actually paid for the autopsy. And there was one also done by the coroner's office. So they want the coroner's office to put theirs out first because they know it's not going to match the one they have. And I think they made a really smart move. I like what they did. They got his autopsy done outside of Mississippi. He was shipped over to another state and they had the autopsy done, which I think was a brilliant move on the parents' part, because at the end of the day, the DA, the police, the judge, the coroner's office, they're all in cahoots with each other. They are. And I don't know how true this is. I know one of the boys, his stepmother is a judge, and another one's in law enforcement, and I'm hearing FBI. Well, the FBI is now joining the investigation on what happened to Nolan Wells. I don't trust these government agencies. I don't even trust the local ones, because at the end of the day, when we saw all of those police unaliving of our people, y'all, that a lot of that mess was done on the local level. You know, because I know a lot of our people be on here talking about, oh, the local level, do this on the local level. They don't like our asses on the local level either. The majority of those shootings were done on the local level, and don't you ever forget it. Another thing that I'm working on, I'm trying to get it set up right now. White people are noticing that their black friends are leaving after Nolan Wells unaliving. And I said, well, that's inevitable. That separation between us being friends, that was coming. I saw that coming even years ago. I said, eventually it's going to get to a point where our folks are going to we're just going to get tired of this very imbalanced, weird kind of friendship anyway. The friendships with y'all is just strange to me. And not to mention, the reason why I stopped being friends years ago is because they want you to sit around listening to their opinions all day. If they think this and they think that, they think you should sit there and just listen to them babble away. But if you got an opinion about something, they get an attitude about it, especially if they don't agree. When I saw that in them, I am not interested in your friendship. If I can't express myself, you need to go. You need to go, because I'm not sitting around putting up with your little flippant attitude because you don't like how I think or what I said. So if that's going to come between us, good. I'll sever this shit right now. That's how I saw it. And my last white friend, y'all, was in 2007. I walked away permanently from having them as my friend. Plain and simple. And I'm not going to be controlled. You're not going to tell me how to feel. You're not going to tell me how to think. None of that. So if it comes down to that, then I seriously don't need your friendship. There is no benefit in having y'all as friends. That's right. I said it. There is no benefit in it. So anyway, y'all, yeah, so this girl put this message up saying she's noticing how black people are leaving their white friends after, the death of Nolan Wells, when it should have brought us together. No, it shouldn't. No, it shouldn't. So you slaughter us and we're supposed to join hand in hand with you, and you think this makes sense? No, we're tired. This stuff has been going on for years. I mean, we are tired. We are worn out. Just if they got to sever to get away, that's probably saving their life. That's the way I see it. That takes them out of danger because they're not coming around you. Unbelievable. How much more do you think we should take before we say enough? We're just now in these times. This is why all this stuff is going on with the Asians and the Latinos, because a lot of our people aren't going in these bodegas anymore either. So it's just not, you're just not hearing it as much as you're hearing the Asian stores. But a lot of our people stopped going in these bodegas that's owned by the Latinos. They're not going in there no more either. So we are just at that point where now when things happen, we're not going to sit around and say, oh, it's not all of them. No, we're like, okay, no, this has gone on for way too long. We out. And that's what's happening now. Our people are finally walking away from these friendships. And like I said, that's probably saving your life. So, y'all, let's get to this. Last night I was online and I was looking because I was trying to find, oh my God, the things I was hearing. And I'm like, I'm praying it's not true. They said the witnesses were saying that these boys had like bars and cinder blocks and stuff, and they were beating Nolan in the head with it. And they said at one point he was crying for his mother. And when he was no longer moving, y'all, they urinated on that poor child. And then dragged him to the water and just put his head in the water. Listen, y'all. I know some people probably even grew up around a lot of the folks that you see all the time, and many of them were white. But don't let children go off alone with them, because at the end of the day, they really don't care about you. Your one white friend may be okay when it's just you and them and you're just playing. But when you start adding in other white friends, the whole dynamic change. Even they change when other white people are around. And I noticed that early on when I was a child. If it was just me and the one white person, it was okay. But when other white children joined in, the whole dynamic changed. And even that person, they changed around those other white people. I noticed it. And the bottom line is, I believe Nolan's funeral is in a few days. And they said they are going to release the autopsy report, but they want Mississippi to do it first because they know already the two autopsies are not going to match. They're not going to match at all. And you got to also hear, and I got the video of how these they talked about how they transported his body, and that is also in question. So, y'all, it's hard to lose somebody 18 years old. It's even harder when we got a long history of these unalivings done in many different ways. And I notice in many cases, they love one thing I notice about the way they take our people out. They love isolating us, taking you on a body of water when it's nobody but you and them, or taking you to some remote place where it's nobody around, just like that Jamaican guy that got killed over in Pennsylvania when he called himself going out hunting with a group of white men. He ended up not coming back. See, they like getting us in these little isolated places where it's nobody around and it's a group of them and one of us. That's what they do. They always try to get us in a situation where we are isolated somewhere with them. And no, we absolutely, you are not under no obligation to go off anywhere with these folks. Your children are not obligated to do it either. But that's the standing pattern I notice about them. When they want to take you out, they always want to take you to some far away place away from everybody. And then they do whatever. And then, throw you in the they drowned. Come on. It's just like all these lynchings that are still going on. They committed suicide. We don't commit suicide like that. No, we don't. Come on. We don't do that. So, y'all, I'm glad. Maybe this is a sign that our people are finally getting it. They are finally getting it right. Number one, we don't have to fix this situation because we never started this situation in this country in the first place. They have started this crap with us. We don't have to come together whenever one of our people fall at the hands of them. What am I coming together with you for? Wow. Or if we talk about it, and this is another thing I want my people to do, just ignore them when they say, oh, y'all always make it about race. You built this whole country based on race. Don't complain about it now. Okay, don't complain about it now. So y'all, let me go ahead and share my screen. And this is another press conference after the autopsy was done. And everything is now going to the grand jury. Y'all, I have to tell you, I do not trust law enforcement anywhere. But I have to tell y'all, I especially don't trust it in the South. When you look at the way these cops conduct themselves, you can tell things changed in a superficial way. But when it comes down to policing, it is still terrible in the South. It's terrible all over, but it's still exceptionally bad in the South. Y'all got some crooked, racist Klansmen cops down there, and they still conduct themselves like that. It has never changed. The entire climate of policing technically has never changed in the South. Now, up here in the North, they full of shit too, but I'm just telling you, down there, when some of these cops go before the camera and speak, I can feel the racism on them. I can feel it. So, y'all, please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Oh, some of you did give me 1s. Thank you. All right, let's get started.
We've just had an opportunity to meet with District Attorney Angel McIlrath and some members of her team. We had a very respectful meeting. The thing I assume some of you may know, the thing to announce, she shared with the family that there will be a grand jury that she will turn this case over to once they have collected all the information and finished their investigation. We also agreed that we will have a mutual inspection of the cell phone with our experts and their experts. Attorney Eric Hertz is helping lead the investigation team with former law enforcement experts who are going to help us with the cell phone download. So everybody will be able to see at the same time what the cell phone has.
So the latest update in the Nolan Wells case was that Ben Crump let us know that all of the evidence from the investigations are being turned over to a grand jury. Now, before I talk about what that means, I want to talk about the fact that there's a difference between activism and reporting. And that's important in a situation like this. When it comes to situations like this, we don't need reporting. We need activism, because the mainstream media is always going to report with a bias. And what that means is that they're going to be quick to take the word of the people who tell you that there was no foul play involved in any of this. So while I understand that people were questioning why Ben Crump was putting out all kinds of evidence, you need to understand that there's a method to the madness. The method to the madness is to force people's hands to be able to tell us something. Because the more you put out there, the more they have to respond to, because they can't just keep quiet and go with the fact that they believe he drowned. So now not only does the private investigator that Ben Crump and the family hired have to make sure that every stone is turned over, they force the local authorities to have to do the same. So even if something comes up that is not perfect evidence, somebody still has to answer to it because it's being put out there. And now all of the evidence has to be passed over to a grand jury. That wouldn't have happened if they would have been able to just simply rule that there was no foul play and that he drowned. And I want to be crystal clear that the only way that evidence gets passed on to a grand jury is if the prosecutor in the community decides that there's enough evidence to potentially press criminal charges. One of the kids' mothers is a judge. Do you understand what I'm saying? So she knows the local prosecutor. It would have never been turned over to a grand jury. So now that it's being passed over to a grand jury, the grand jury gets to look at the evidence and decide if there's enough to move forward with pursuing criminal charges. And guess what? Ben Crump and his team are going to watch that process with a fine-tooth comb to make sure that what happened to Carmelo Anthony, which is that he was faced with a jury full of people that do not look like him, they're going to make sure that that does not happen in this case and that he is able to have a fair trial and we can really get the answers to what happened to him. This was never about reporting the facts that they told us. This was about forcing their hand and putting their feet to the fire to tell us what happened to Nolan Wells.
Secret Service Sam here for Nolan Xavier Wells. And we have good news. This morning, attorney Ben Crump had a press conference this morning, and they are announcing that the death investigation of Nolan will be turned over to the grand jury once they have everything in. Now, this is good news because they will be getting all the cell phone records. They will find out what was going on when those boys were allegedly erasing Snapchat videos, any text messages off of Nolan's phone, and get a better idea of what happened. Christine Wonsley, Nolan's mother, said that there will be funeral services for her teen son, and they will be held at Centerpoint Church in Ocean Springs, Mississippi on Monday. Visitation will be held from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., and other services will begin immediately after that. Actor Tyler Perry is paying for the funeral costs, which is very generous. And as we know, Colin Kaepernick also, I believe, paid for the autopsy, the independent autopsy, which is just amazing to see those guys come forward. Somebody pointed out, you know, with Jay-Z and other artists, how they're not putting their money where their mouth is or their activism. We're still waiting on the autopsy to find out what happens. As you guys know, I'm sure by now you've seen the video of the two women explaining about the transport of Nolan. And to me, it's just atrocious what is going on. And it just leads to so many more questions, because the way they explain the condition of his body, it reminds me of like Emmett Till. Like, this thing could be much darker and more disgusting than we even imagine. Ben Crump and the family had a meeting with Angela Myers.
Okay. So that's what they're talking about. They said he was badly bruised. Of course, you know, he was beaten. And there also are people saying that Nolan was set on fire. So, y'all, I mean, this thing just gets more and more gruesome. Yeah, well, it's in Mississippi, and I hope they're right. They don't do the all-white jury like they did over there with Carmelo Anthony, you know, in Texas. And I just don't understand how, you know, they're going to do this grand jury process. But if they walk in there and it's an all-white jury, there should be plenty of objections. Y'all need to make a lot of noise about that, you know, because it's Mississippi, and they might try to pull that mess. They just might try to pull it. Okay, let's get back to
McGrath. She is the district attorney this morning, and they shared updates on the investigation and all the information they had. Ben Crump had also said they've been getting like 50 to 100 phone calls a day with leads. So if you guys have photos, videos, we know there has to be more photo and video proof, because the way we are as a people with these cell phones, we record everything. And I just don't believe that one footage we've seen on the boats and the alleged altercation is all that we have. So please come forward if you have something. That's all I got for now. Secret Service Sam out, Samson for president of the world.
Nolan's mom met with the DA's office in Mississippi, and now Nolan's case is going to be presented to a grand jury. Apparently, this is not uncommon. They'll do this if someone's death is suspicious or unnatural. In my brain, it's telling me that something does happen. Because if nothing happened, there'll be no grand jury. Like, why are we going to the grand jury if nothing happened? I mean, the boys are already lawyer up, so I can't say get lawyers. If it's going to the grand jury, that means there has to be some type of evidence that's going to be presented. There has to be presented for the case to move forward. The fact that it's even going to the court, that means we're doing something. Something is being cooked. Nolan's family got experts, and the Mississippi people have their own experts that's going to go through Nolan's phone and try to get data back that his quote-unquote friends deleted. If you're not guilty, why are you deleting text messages? If you're not guilty, why are you lawyering up? If that's your friend, your best friend of all friends, why are you not helping the cops find solutions to this case? Why are you not helping the family get a solution to what happened to your quote-unquote friend? Why are you lawyering up? Why are you quiet? They've been mute since we found out about what happened to Nolan. But you're not sus. And if it's going to the grand jury, is it going to be like fair representation of us, or is it going to be of the YT people because, you know, it's Mississippi? We saw what happened to Carmelo Anthony. They literally sped up his freaking case. Less than 2-3 days he was convicted. So are we going to have fair trial, or are we just going to, you know, be America, like the way America be doing things?
Well, time will tell. Okay, we're not that far off from it. So his funeral is Monday. Now his family, they said they are sitting on their autopsy results because they want the state of Mississippi to release it first. And I think that's a smart move because we already know what they gonna do is try to make it look like it was an accidental drowning and all that stuff. We know what they gonna do. We know what you're gonna do, Mississippi. we know what you're gonna do. You know, blame the victim, because that's what y'all do. You do it with all the lynchings. Blame the victim. So, you know, the bottom line is, y'all, I'm doing 3 lives on this because it's just so much info coming out now. So much. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your support. And my next live will be coming up at 1:45 today. So we're going to get into, hold on one second. Okay, so we're going to get deeper into what's going on. The FBI is now joining the investigation. Now, do I think that's a good thing? Well, if these agencies had a reputation for doing the right thing, it would be a good thing. But we know when it comes down to us, they don't give a damn. They don't care. You know, the FBI and DOJ and all them, they're not there for us. We already know that. They don't work in our favor. The DOJ is absolutely useless. They might as well not even be there, okay, as far as I'm concerned, because they do absolutely nothing in these cases where our people get unalive. They don't do squat. So I know the FBI is joining, but I'm not looking forward to no big things they're going to do in this whole thing, because I don't think they will. That's just my opinion. So y'all, I will see you at 1:45 and the final one where this young white girl was saying, oh, she notices how our people are now leaving friendships with white people now after Nolan Wells. So we'll do that one at 3:45. So y'all have a wonderful afternoon, and I'll see you on my next live. And don't forget to pick up your hair products. Shalom, family.